This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so yesterday we have discussed the basics of the Gatling, how Gatling works, how Gatling is useful, and a comparison with other industry standard tools that are available in the market. So, do you guys have any questions like what we have discussed in the last session? Okay, so let me share my screen. Okay, so my screen is visible, right?
Yes.
Please, yeah, okay. So we already discussed about the data types, the basic Scala data types that are available with the Scala. Now we'll go to the basic Scala variable definition. So how do we declare a variable in Scala? So yeah, so basically uh, we use the val keyword for variable name, then we give the data type, and then we assign it to a variable. For setting up a variable, we use the .exec function. Then we open a session basically. Then we use session.set function, that is a function in between Scala which is setting the value to a variable, that is size code. So basically this setting up the session we do for error handling or passing the values dynamically over the script when we are doing the performance scripting. Then this setting up the variables and declaring a variable use, we use it as for any conditional statement or any error validation or error handling. So going forward in the session when we do the enhance scripting, we will look into it in a practical manner. So like operators are necessary for any of the language. So the case is the same in Scala. We have arithmetic operators, relational operators, logic operators, bitwise operators, and assignment operators, and they have their own significance. So all the addition, subtractions, multiplication, division comes under arithmetic. Relational is used for comparison. Logical is for doing the logical operations like and or. Bitwise operator we have like double getter and dividing it through pipe. Assignments operator we have for assigning a value to a particular variable. So here comes a part for recording a scenario, because not every time we do the scripting through the manual efforts, we do recording. So there are two modes of recording that we have discussed yesterday. So one is HTTP proxy and second is hard converter. For HTTP proxy, we need to define the port that recorder will listen. The default port is 8000, but you can configure it at any of the port. Now configure the browser at the same port and we can use it. Let me show you the port option. See, when we go for the HTTP proxy, we have the port option. So whatever port you used to give here, set the same proxy, same port with the local host in your browser. Then your browser will listen Gatling on the particular port and you will be able to capture the request, record the request you are browsing through the UI, that is your browser. So name of the class and project, and we need to click on start. That is very obvious, we have discussed it in the last session and we have recorded one script also. So we have the start option of recording over here. Here is the drop down for changing the mode of recording. This is a proxy, outgoing proxy. If you are organization using any domain and port, you can give it there. If it has some authentication, you can provide it here. You need the package name and class name that we defined in which the simulation will be recorded, and then you can browse the file and generate the simulation. So this is just the introduction. Going forward, when we are doing the hands-on with the modular scripting, we'll be seeing all this in detail. But let me just give you a walkthrough so that you are familiar with the tool, and when we are doing the real hands-on in a practical way, you are not getting confused. You are familiar with the things what we are discussing. Har converter mode, we have to just create a har file from the browser. Then we have to give the location of the har file, the location of the har file that we have created yesterday, that is flipkart.com. For flipkart.com, this is a class name, this is a package name, this is the path where you want to save your simulation, and then you can start it.
I have one question, sir. Like, har file is for a specific page we create or for a complete flow we create?
Okay, so that depends on you. Okay, so how your scripting structure is that. Okay, so if let us suppose you have home page, add to cart, checkout, place order. So this is a normal flow, okay, in any of the e-commerce website. So it depends on you actually. If you want to create a different har file and create the different actions file for all this, you can go ahead. Or if you want to capture one flow in a single script, we can generate one har file. We can save one har file consisting this much of the request in a particular in a sequential flow, and we can create a simulation file with that. That we did in the last session, right, in the flipkart.com.
Okay, so we have to tick mark that preserve log and to follow this complete flow in the browser.
Yeah,
And
that's
then
correct.
after completing the flow, we have to download the har file.
Yeah, you have to export the har file basically.
Okay.
Okay, now let us discuss what is the script structure in the Gatling, what it should be. So basically, there are four part of script structure. First, we have HTTP protocol configuration. Okay, so in HTTP protocol configuration, it defines the base URL against which we are running our test. That is flipkart.com in our case. Also, we can define other configurations such as user agent, language header, connection, and so on. So header definition will be consisting the header part, any specific header like such as content type, content value, uh, keep alive, and then we have authorization. So bearer token, all this will be provided in the header configuration. Scenario will contain the group of actions such as the type of request we are hitting, such as get, post, and will be executed to simulate the user interaction with the application. Basically, it will decide in which manner your test will run. Okay, and then simulation definition defines the load volume, the ramp up pattern, the duration of the test, and how long your test will run. That will be defined in the simulation definition basically. You are able to see the PPT, right? It's not, fonts
Yes,
are
yes.
okay. Okay. So there are some mandatory imports of libraries and predefined functions we need to import in our scripting for Gatling DSL. Okay, so few of them are import io.gatling.co.pdef, import io.gatling.jdbc.pdef for JDBC feeder, http.pdef for http kind of request, and scala.concurrent duration for specifying the duration of the test. Let us suppose I need the test durations to be 5 seconds, then I'll use the scala.concurrent.duration. Clear, right? So this is the script structure we have. It's a sample script available. So it is being defined like what are the mandatory components we have and what is the structure and flow of the script. So if we can see, first is the optional package name, the package name we have to give. Then in second we have mandatory imports. Then in third we have class declaration. Then in fourth we have common configuration. Fifth we are defining the base URL. Six is the HTTP headers. Then 7 is the scenario definition. 8 is the request name. 9 is the request type, get, post, put, delete. Dot pause will be used at the think time. Setup is used for setting up the simulation or scenario. Then we are 12 in the step 12 scn dot inject. We are declaring the scenario object to inject in the scenario users in the scenario. And dot protocol HTTP protocol is attaching the HTTP configuration because the request is HTTP to my simulation. Got it? Any questions? So how do we do logging in the Gatling? So we have the log file location which is known as logback.xml. So we can do the debug mode and trace mode both. So there's nothing theoretical in that. I'll show you this in practical. Just a minute. Yeah, so you can see the file logback.xml is present over here. So we have two options of debug and trace. If I will enable the debug, then we will get the log only when the error happens. If you enable the trace, it will print the logs even if your tests are passing. So you will be able to see both the response when the test is getting failed, transactions are getting failed and passed in both the cases. The reason being why we need trace and debug both, when we are doing the load test, right, then we cannot put it at trace because we will have the lot of space consumed, memory consumed, and your test may crash. That's the reason being when we are doing the sanity or smoke test or we are doing validation of the script, we are using the debug mode. Understood?
Yes.
So let us suppose we are replicating a real time scenario. We have to flush the session cookies. We have to flush the cache. So for this, we have the function of exec flush session cookies, flush cookie jar, and flush HTTP cache. The cache which is being resided in the browser. when we are doing the script, it will be residing under our user session. So in every session, if we just want to clear my cache and cookie, we have these inbuilt functions over there. So we have parameterized and correlation going forward in this PPT. So we'll look into it in the next session. For now, we will look into what we have learned in practical, in theoretical manner. We'll go and we'll do the practical for that.
This flushing cookies is like cookie and cache manager similar to
Yeah,
Jmeter.
yeah, yeah, it's same. So this is the simulation file that we have generated in yesterday's session. Okay, if you can see, these are the mandatory imports. This is my class name. This is my base URL. These are the headers. I am trying to go to the, yeah, so these are the URLs that are being captured during the recording. So these are different domains of the Flipkart or any redirection URL we have. So it has captured all. Now come to request. So this is my scenario name. This is scenario object. This is the variable screen. It is scn object which has scenario and name is recorded simulation. The same as the name of the file basically. So .exec http exec for executing. Http is my request 0, that is my request name. Dot get is the type of the request, and then URI 15 just a variable which is storing some value. Then we have its endpoints. Dot header 0, we are passing the header that is being saved in header 0 value. So when we are doing the scripting, um, in our way, in modular approach, then we'll be writing this and we'll be looking into it in detail. Okay, today I'm just showing you what is the structure of the script and how you'll be executing that. So dot check is for checkpoint, and resources is for combining the parallel request over the any of the Gatling requests. We use dot resources, the bundle of resources. Now when I come down, you can see setup scn.inject dash scenario object.inject at once user. How many users is it is running? One user. The dot protocol type is http. Max duration, that how long my test will run. I have given here 100 seconds. Okay, now can you tell me how many requests are there in this? Anyone please? How many requests are there in this script?
Maybe less than 254.
Yeah, actually the request is 254. Okay, so when we should run the test, we should get the details of these in the test, right? So how do we run a simple simulation in Gatling?
And
Go
the
for
last line you added manually,
this one, right?
the very
This
last
thing I
line.
have, yeah, this thing, no, till here it will be recorded. Okay, but what will happen if I will not put the duration? Then it will keep on executing the script, right?
Okay.
So I have given the max duration that it should complete in 100 seconds or when the all the 254 request is executed. Okay, so it has multiple configurations over here. It will be not just as simple. This is just for learning purpose for Gatling. Okay, when we'll do the modular scripting, your simulation will look something like, since you have asked, let us see. Yeah, so your simulation will look something like this. Okay, and it is referring to each class and object. It has references. So when we'll do the real scripting, see, uh, you can judge what is the difference. Like this is looking very untidy, right? And but if you can see my scripts, every variable, everything is automated and parameterized, and it is looking so much clear, right? So uh, coming to the Gatling high chart bundle, you have to go to high chart bundle. You have to go bin. You have to run the Gatling. I'm running the Gatling. So it is asking me I have multiple simulations present over here. It is asking me which simulation I have to run. I will give the simulation number, that is 0. Again, uh, what is the name of the simulation we have created yesterday? What is the class name? Recorded simulation, right? The same, I will choose the recorded simulation over here. Now it will ask for run description. You can give anything. I have put it blank. Now the test simulation has started. Now over here it is giving the simulation name. Uh, it is giving the waiting. We have only one user there. That's why the one you can see we have only one user in the simulation. That's why active users are 1, waiting 0, because all the users are ramped up and done is 0. So let us wait till this test executes.
So means Gatling has no its own UI. We have to execute through this CMD.
Yeah, it has no UI, but we execute it through the. I'll show you. Just let it complete. I will show you in ID how does it looks like. Okay.
So these, it is not following a sequence here.
It is following the sequence here.
Am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible. Please go ahead. Hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah. So, okay.
Yeah. Am I
Yeah, I
audible?
see. Yeah, request two is triggered first, and then request one. So
Hmm.
it's not in the sequence. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah. So can you tell me why this is happening? Any suggestion you want to guess why this is happening? Anyone? Then I'll tell.
Maybe asynchronous manner is executing.
That's fine. But the thing is that when request will be completed, right? When we'll get the response,
Yes.
correct? So
Yes.
the transaction execution is depend how quickly the response is coming. So 120 for 123, it got response before 126. Sorry, 126 got response before one request number 123. That's why it's being executed over here first. And the requests are going in a parallel manner, right? I told you that dot resources we use. That's why. Correct? Any confusion? Let me know. We can clarify that.
So it's a parallel execution or
So
one by
you
one.
mean the resources?
Hmm? Go ahead.
I mean,
Go ahead,
the
please.
execution started parallelly or it's like one by one.
Just a minute, I'm showing. Yeah, yeah, right. So request will start sequentially. Okay, so request 0 will start sequentially, but dot resources, it has bundle of parallel requests, right? And it has request 1 2 3 and 4. So when it is executing parallelly, whichever between 1 2 3 4 5 and however request we have in parallel in bundle, whoever response is coming first, it is generating that transaction, showing that transaction. Got it? Because it's a transaction under transaction. If you see, it's HTTP request 0. Okay, and inside HTTP request 0 we have different kind of transactions. See, exec, you got it right. Now that was the parallel request till 131. Then after 131, request 132 started, which has this many bundle of requests. Then 135 has another bundle of request, which is executing in parallel. So major transaction, let us suppose we have transaction 1 1 2 and T3. These are executing in sequential manner, because of course they will you be executed in sequential manner. But inside T1 we have the parallel request of parallel resources of T01, T02, and similarly in T2 we have parallel request of T3, comma T4. So major parent transactions are executing in sequential, but we have given the parallel transactions also, which will be running in parallel. So whoever response will come first in parallel, that will be executed first. Correct? Clear? Yeah. So did I answer your question? Please respond.
Now this script is still running.
Yeah, it is still running. How many requests we had?
To follow.
254, right? And how much we have executed?
So I think
One.
it's stuck somewhere or not.
No, no, no. This we are hitting the Flipkart.com. Why they will allow us to hit their website, right? The response will be high. We are waiting, and there are too many third party we have recorded.
So I missed because I was disconnected. So I saw that you mentioned that the request and response, once we receive, then only it appears here. So in case the further requests are dependent on the earlier request, then do we need to divide resources so that it
No,
finishes
no,
the
no.
first one and then only
Uh,
triggers the other one?
no, I think you heard the explanation halfway. Okay, the thing is that we have parent transaction T1, T2, and T3. Okay, and they will be executing in sequential manner, like login home,
Mhm.
like homepage login, place order, or log out, anything. But in T1 we have two parallel requests, T01 and T02, and T2 we have two parallel requests, T3 and T4. that is depending on T2 only. So they will be executing in parallel. So if you can see mismatch in the request number, that is between T0 and T2 only, not between T1 and T2. Correct?
Mm-hmm.
You got it right. So let me put
Yes.
an enter. Yeah. So the mismatch in request is between the sub request, not in the parent one. Parent will be executed uh, once if T1 will get the response for both T01 and T02, then only it will go for T2. Otherwise, it will not. It will be
Yeah,
stuck there, right?
exactly. So that's what
In
my
this
point
case,
is.
yeah. Go ahead.
So that's what my point is. If T1 and T2 are dependent on each other, then T1 has to finish first. Then it
Hmm.
cannot be under same resource. Otherwise, T2 will not have a right data to send.
Yeah, that's what we have not bundled the parallel request. What kind of request is there? You can see. So dot resources under we have bundle request, okay, and what kind of request is it? These all are static request. If I will remove the static request, okay, it's
Mm-hmm.
just because we have recorded it and we have not filtered. If I remove the static request, it will have nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
CSS, JS, PNG, all are static resources. So if I'll go to Gatling, I'll tell that no static request, then you can see it will filter CSS, GIF, JPG, PNG, everything. Then we'll not have any this kind of bundle parallel requests.
Okay, so in sorry. So
Hmm.
so in case it bundles the request together based on the har file, and is there a mechanism in Gatling where it take care of it automatically, that it bundles the requests only which are not interdependent on each other?
Yeah, it does the same. It does the same, buddy. Just a minute. If you
Maybe
can
Rahul,
see,
I can explain you in easy way. What happens when you hit one URL, let's say any page like Flipkart, the login page of Flipkart. So it has few resources, it has front-end resources like JS, CSS. When you hit the first URL, so first URL login page URL is your main URL, and it has a lot of resources which is inside login. And then when you go for home page, when you click on any tab on home page, then few resources loads with the home page tab. So they are not dependent on
Mm-hmm.
each other. So when you are hitting login, there are some dependent, like if you maybe you can go to the notepad where you had T1 and T2, and there it will explain clearly. So T0 and T02 was there, right, which you remember inside T1.
Mm-hmm.
So the
Mm-hmm.
T02, yeah, uh, here. So T01 and T02 are the resources inside T1, which is, for example, login page has few resources like JS, CSS, all resources which are inside T1, which calls happens for that by default. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And when T3 call happens, there are few different resources. So the Gatling is capable of bundling them in proper way. Whatever resources are associated with T1, Gatling bundles them in T1 as in resources dot resources, and there is bracket, inside bracket all the resources are there, and those resources
Okay.
will shuffle, meaning the request will happen in parallel, but they will wait for their response to come. Which request will be done first, response will come for that first. For example, T02 will complete first, then it will give the response for T02. Okay, this parallel execution happens inside resource box. Okay, but T1 and T3, you can see they will execute in sequence. They won't happen in parallel until you have that kind of request which runs in parallel in your application.
Okay. Okay. I
yeah,
understand.
and one more thing to add over here so that you can explain it better. Okay, so Gatling lacks the UI part of testing, right? That we have explained. So there is no meaning of waiting for the responses for the static kind of resources that will help us to give the browser rendering time, such as loading of the JPG and PNG. So they are optimizable resources, can be optimized further based on their rendering time and buffer time. So these things we don't matter since we have recorded the script for first time just to show you the demo. Okay, that's why these things are included. Going for the real-time scripting we'll go for, we you cannot see this kind of request going forward. Let me show you. I have one of the request over here. Okay, you cannot see any of the bundle requests. All are the requests hitting over any uh, specific your API. We don't have any static resource over there. Got it? So okay, going forward, after running the test, okay, it will give you a global information that will give you the request count. So total 219 requests executed, three of them are failed. KO is for failed, OK is for passed. The mean max response time, mean response time, 50 percentile, 75th percentile, 95th, 99. The percentage request percentage on the basis of the status code we have, and the report is being generated. You can see the HTML report has been generated. I'll copy the path and I'll open it with the browser. So this is the Gatling report basically. This is the name of your simulation or class name. This is showing you the duration of the test, how long your test ran. We have given 100 seconds as max duration. That's why it executed for 98 seconds only. 2 seconds were spent in initialization of the script. We have some key indicators and graphs over there which show us the number of requests and their response time. So 91% of the requests we have executed are passed and their response time were less than 800 milliseconds. 8% of request has the response time between 800 to 1200 milliseconds and 1% request has been failed. When you come here, you will see the transaction table. So here global information will collect the number of execution, the number of transaction we have executed. So when we are doing the reporting, we basically remove this global information because we need the data on the transaction basis, on the request basis. So request will be your transaction name, total will be the total number of transaction. Okay, means out of out of total how many requests got passed. KO means how much of them are failed. KO percent is the percentage of the failed request. Count per second is your TPS or request per second. Minimum is the minimum response time, and the same for 50 percentile, 75th, 95th, 99, max, mean, and standard deviation. If I'll come down, we'll have the errors tab over here. So in the errors tab, we'll get the count and percentage of the error. So we got 500 errors. How much? One. 401. And again, we for one request we got 500. Expected was 406. So they have equal distribution looks like. Now comes the graphical view. Active users along the simulation. So how many users were active? So there we put it one user. That's why it's showing the one users. Response type distribution of past and the field request. So these are the past request and these are the field request. This is the response time versus user graph. So this is your user, active user one, and this is the response time of all the percentiles, mix, mean, max, average, 95th, 25th, everything you can see over here. Yeah, so this is the graph for the TPS basically, number of requests per second and users. So here we have active user is 1 and request is 66. Anyway, you can shrink your graph, zoom in and zoom out through the section we have. Any of the graph you can do that. Number of responses is just the response received over the time as compared to number of users we have. So in the first part we have 48 past response and one response is failed, that is this one. And similarly this shows the response and pie chart. All this information will be given by Gatling once we execute the load test with the Gatling in a open source model. Going in the frontline approach, we'll get the much colorful graphs. I have not used that till now, so no idea about that. But I think more or less the reporting format will be same, and it is giving us the enough information to debug and decide how my test went. If you want further information for getting the failed request, you can always enable the log as per your system configuration and check in detail like why the requests are getting executed and what is the major response time. Any questions please till then?
So
Then we'll move next.
two major parameters like
Hmm?
average response time and 90th percentile. It's like
Yeah,
hidden from this graph or anything else.
not hidden. This 95th and 99 are there, right?
No, no, but generally, user we are providing clients the average one and 90th percentile.
Yeah, this is customizable. Okay,
Okay,
in going session, I'll show you how can we customize this.
okay.
Okay, gatling.conf file is there.
And also
There
in
will
the error section, if you go to the error section in graph, so does it show any sampler or which request is failing number of that request?
okay. I have closed on that tab basically, but let me check if it is present over any. Yeah, one of them is present. I ran before. It will take too much time. I will show you here. Nothing failed over here. No worries, I'll show you here only. So I've enabled a trace over here. Okay. So let us go with the transaction name what we have executed. Let us suppose I have request 3. Okay. In the load test, it is for debug and trace both. So we have enabled the logs fully for both past transaction and failed transaction. If I will only enable the debug, it will get the same kind of responses when the trace is enabled. So request 3. Okay. So you can 3 see it is okay. This is a session. If you come down in the logs, you will get the HTTP request, the data, the body we are passing, and then you will can see the response headers and the response body. So similarly, for if getting any errors, you will be getting those things over here.
So in that graph, it's not visible, correct?
No, in the graph, complete log is not available. So for seeing the monitoring the complete graph, you need to go for log. There only it is possible.
No, no, I'm not asking for the complete log. I just need the at least the transaction name, correct? For which transaction the error is there.
No, for that you will get here, no? Just a minute. So request 97, 116, 1129. This many requests are failed out of them. So what we can do that we have this much count. So okay. So basically it is aggregate grouping the errors on the basis of the error code we are status code we are getting. If we are getting 404, we are getting for 9 requests, 406 for 6 requests, 500 for 1 request. So for this particular on the transaction name, we have to go on the logs and we can check like for which transaction name we got these errors. But if you'll see the failures over the transaction name, if you'll get the lesser, you will be able to like achieve like which transactions are getting passed. Then you can click on detail, or in detail you can see for which status code it failed. Correct. I clicked on one request and I can saw that it failed due to 500 error code. So you can go and manually click on each of the failed transaction and you will be able to know why that request has failed.
Okay.
Sorry, please come again.
Can you show how you got that log? Sorry, I missed that part.
Okay, that log, right? So basically what happened now, when we run in CMD, okay, logs are getting, but the thing is that I cannot scroll over and see everything because there will be too much log here. Okay, and I have not put the logging level also. So basically we have when we are doing IntelliJ, na, in when we are running it
Mm-hmm.
over the IntelliJ, I have just ran the test in the IntelliJ terminal, then
Mm-hmm.
and logback.xml in the logback.xml file I have enabled both debug and test. So in case of both pass and fail transaction, I'll be getting the log. So that's what
Where
when
this
report
log
is
will be
generated.
saved?
No, I just copy pasted it, but it will be saved. If I'll go to my folder and subfolder, I will get that simulation.log.
Okay.
Okay, I'll be getting it somewhere. I don't know in which part I
You
am
went to
saving
that
it.
location, you copied that simulation.log and you opened in Notepad.
Yeah, basically it's a simulation.file only. It is saying how we are running the test. Okay. So it is saving in some of the part. I don't remember the part.
No, but how
But
you
in the
opened in
terminal,
Notepad? Sorry.
sorry,
I saw you opened in Notepad, right? How you opened in Notepad? That log
this
file?
one. No, I just copy pasted, no?
Oh, from here, everything.
Yeah, everything. It will be copy pasted.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay. And what we do basically when we are doing the distributed testing or with CI/CD pipeline now, then we are giving the path here to save the logs in the Jenkins or any Team City or Bamboo. We are giving the path, and there the logs are getting saved. Okay, that's all for today's session basically. So I think our demo session will be completing today. Going forward, we'll be doing the Gatling session in detail and we'll see the modular approach and how to do the Gatling script in ID. So running the Gatling in backend is just is very good, but for learning purpose only. For industry standard, we have to go for ID basically because it's a program oriented tool. We cannot achieve everything by running it from the backend in the something like Gatling high charts bundle. Okay, please let me know if you have any further questions regarding the today's session. Then we can close it and we will then resume tomorrow.
Yeah, hello. I have one query.
Yeah.
This is we ran in Gatling is ran in non-GA mode. How to monitor that in real time? I mean, is one. The monitoring purpose,
Okay.
not APM.
Can you?
I'm not asking.
Mm-hmm. Go
Just
ahead.
I can see in the I can see in that all requests are passing. I mean, and the monitoring purpose. I'm not asking server side monitoring. I'm asking just whatever we ran the test,
Huh?
not in the command line. At least any UI they will Gatling has any own monitoring tool. Like we have to club with
Clients are not.
Grafana.
Yeah.
Exactly,
Perfmon.
exactly.
Yeah. I got your question. So through Perfmon we
Request and
can
response.
integrate.
Not only yeah, not only
Like
puff one. I'm seeing all requests and looks like yeah. In Jmeter we can run in the GUI mode. View result aggregate report like that. View result
so
we can
here
see that which
also.
request is failing. Yeah.
Yeah. So here also we can see, right? When I ran the test, you were able to see like we were monitoring that. Let me show you again. Let me know if my screen is visible or not.
Yes, yes, visible.
So I ran the test. Okay, this is the request global. Let's talk about the global. So okay means passed. 90 transaction has passed and 3 has been failed. We can monitor that,
Yeah.
right? If I'll open this log file that I have executed right now, okay, all the test has finished too quickly. If I run it for a long time, you can monitor it. If I'll go,
If my understanding is correct, he is asking like if there is any way that we can check this in GUI mode as we do in Jmeter, correct?
Yeah.
yeah, so UI mode runtime monitoring is not available in Gatling open source. The logs are available there. Graphs you cannot see. Logs are because the HTML report will show us the graph and that will be generated once and only our test will be over. In the runtime, you have to do the monitoring through the logs. You can see one of the request. Uh, the request name is something request 29. It is okay. It is passed. It is session ID. What are the parameters we are passing in this request? This is the request type, then will come the request headers, then we have the response of that. We got 200. Okay, and then if it will be fail, you will be able to know like why it is fail, what was the response body, and you can see like 3 seconds elapsed for the test. The number of transactions passed, all the transactions are passing, and at the same time you are getting the logs also. So 100% test is passed and 100% users are ramped up, no user waiting, and once test is completed, users are in done state. So this way we
Okay.
monitor it through the when we are running the
We
test
can,
of Gatling.
we can integrate with Grafana also. I mean, we can
Yeah,
integrate with Grafana.
yeah, you can integrate
Okay.
it. I have done the integration, it is working.
In our coming sessions, how to integrate with Grafana. These sessions will cover in our topic.
Theoretical I can cover. Okay, if time allows you us, okay, then I can cover, else not, because I'm not making any commitment for that because it's not the part of the course. But we'll see.
Okay.
Okay, if I will be having setup in this laptop, I'll show you. Not in worry. If not, then I have to think. Jenkins I will be
Only
showing you.
C.
Yeah,
Okay. You can configure Jenkins and we can show you in this part of.
yeah. I'll show you in the Jenkins. Jenkins will give you like better monitoring over the console as compared to IDE and command prompt.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, are we expecting any more questions or should we close it for the day?